Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to try to answer why you should have a pen blade in your collection. So you can see there's a bunch of them on the table here today. You know, maybe you've got one, maybe two of these beautiful little knives in your collection. Most knife collectors don't. So most knife collectors, they're into these big beautiful jackknives, and they don't even bother with these pen blades. But there's some really interesting things about these pen blades I'm going to share with you, and I'm also going to give you some reasons of why you might consider having a few in your collection. So if you'd like to hear more about that, go ahead and check out the video. What was that about Grandma again?
Crazy Grandma?
Crazy Grandma?
Yeah,
Why'd they call her Crazy Grandma?
I don't know, really, but just from my recollections, I don't know, she did weird things. Like one time she tried to hijack an airplane. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'd say that's crazy. So
I barely remember now exactly what happened, but I know that they pulled everybody off the plane and called the police, and I'm sure they detained her for quite some time.
Welcome back to the Fortified Castle. Hi to all my viewers. I hope you're staying warm out there. Before I get into this, I wanted to pass on that Sunday, January 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be having a live show, and the guest will be JC Mountain Ajar, a really nice guy, and somebody I find who has a lot of innovative ideas. He's a really cool guy. And so I hope you join us. We're going to be talking about knives. We're going to be talking maybe a little bit about prepping, and it should be a pretty good show. So I hope y'all will check that out. But yeah, let's talk about why you should own one of these pen blades. So if you look at this picture, there's 29 little tiny pen blades in the picture here, and there's an amazing amount of different colors, cover materials, and a real diversity of patterns here, and those are two of the good reasons to have a pen blade in your collection. But let's just look at what a pen blade is. These are small, tiny, skinny, light duty knives that have blades, one or more blades at opposite ends of the knife. That's what a pen blade is. But they're really not popular with a lot of people. And I want to talk about some of the amazing things about these pen knives, but also some real reasons why you should have them in your collection. So generally, pen blade knives, when they were manufactured and sold, were more costly than the corresponding jackknife would have been. So if you take a pen blade like this one right here, it's a New York Knife Company pen blade. What that means is a knife the same size as this, that is a jackknife, which is a knife that has one or more blades attached at one end. If you had a comparable jackknife to this knife would have cost more for you to buy. And it's kind of easy to figure that out because you have opposing blades, And to get these blades to work, it takes a lot more engineering. It takes a lot more work, time, effort to get those blades to squeeze in there without hitting each other. And not only were they more expensive to build, but because of that, and they were selling them for more, they often were more finely finished with better materials. And so for some companies, these pen blades would actually cost more than any of the fixed jackknives that they offered, sometimes 200-300% more. And with the average pen blade being more finished and more refined, some of them were just extraordinarily put together, and some of the finest examples of knives that you can find. So, interestingly, even though these are some of the most expensive knives made, that doesn't really translate over to the collector. What I mean by that? Well, you can have these pen blades for about 75% of the cost of a jackknife. And the reason is we love these jackknives. We love the bigger, heavier knives. And even though these knives aren't made as well and not finished as well, we still like them. And so law of supply and demand runs up the price on these. And these will cost way more than what you could pick a penknife up for. So that makes these an incredible bargain amongst a lot of other characteristics that make these knives attractive. So one of the really good reasons for having one of these or more in your collection is exotic materials. And so by that I mean materials that aren't so normal, like genuine tortoiseshell horn, which you're finding more and more horn in knives today, but still this the horn produced in the earlier years were pretty nice. Ivory, you don't see very much ivory anymore, and it's fairly easy to find in pen knives. Mother of pearl, you know, beautiful, beautiful mother of pearl. Abalone, just hard to find abalone in a jackknife nowadays, as well as precious metals like silver and gold. And so that's what we're talking about exotic materials. In some instances, it's going to be the only place you find it, especially like with ivory. So it's not that these exotic materials were not put into other knives like jackknives and Bowie knives, but the knives that they were put into they're going to cost you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, whereas you can buy these at a fraction of the cost and have an example of those exotic materials in your collection. Really good reason to get a hold of one of these knives. Another really good reason is just because you want to have a fine piece of craftsmanship, an example of a really well-made knife. And again, with regular jackknives, you're looking at thousands to tens of thousands of dollars to get a custom-made knife that have all the features that this knife right here has. And this knife is made out of 100% sterling silver. The covers are genuine mother of pearl, really high grade too. I don't know whether the camera's picking that up. but it's also sculpted, and so you have engraved designs on this mother of pearl. There are a bunch of tiny little sterling silver pins that are put into this knife. The shield is engraved sterling silver with the design in it. The back spring is sterling silver and has been worked with a file. And even the blade of this knife is sterling silver. It's a sterling silver blade. The craftsmanship on this knife is just phenomenal. And I bought this knife for $38. And one of the reasons I bought this knife was the craftsmanship on it, just to have an example of a really finely made knife. Now, this knife is not a official pen knife, but it's a fruit knife, and I consider those pen knives. Technically, they're not, because you have a single blade at one end, but they're so delicate, small. They're really, to me, just a pen knife. But this knife brings up another really good reason you might want to have a pen knife. So this knife is from 1851, and if you want to get a hold of a knife from the 1800s, a penknife really is one of the easiest ways to have a piece of history like that. It's kind of hard to find and determine whether a knife like this is actually from the 1800s or not, but that's not true with penknives, and so it's pretty easy to determine. And I've got a bunch of them here on the table that are from the 1800s. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one right here, all from the 1800s. A lot of early knives from the 40s, turn of the century. So it's really easy to get old knives that are pen knives. The reason is they were lightly used, and because of that, they a lot of them have been preserved through time. Another reason that to have pen knives is maybe like relief work like this, and it's really hard to find good relief work nowadays, and there's a lot of examples of these in the early 1900s and 1800s, knives that have relief work, and that's like a 3D design that pops out at you, like you can see right here. So these are really neat, and you can really only find them in these old pen knives. Here's another one with some relief work. This is not ivory, this is celluloid. This is a New York knife company, and when you turn it over, look, you can see the milled liners on it. These things were made extremely well, and it's a really good reason to get a hold of some of these for your collection. Here's Robeson with a really cool turtle shell design to it. Different colors. Normally you see them as black and brown or yellow, kind of goldish color, and red, but this is some very unique coloring on this. Really cool. And this is another Robeson right here. Just incredibly unique kind of work on these pen knives. You know, they're made to be something special. This one is in silver, and there's your relief work and a beautiful vine design on this knife. This is sterling silver on this knife, and this one also has a work back. You can see it right there. These weren't milled, these were filed at the time that these knives were produced. Here's a really old one right here. This is in ebony, and you can see it has milled liners and a filed back on it, both of them, and a very elegant, understated, black on this knife here. Really nice. Come on, snap in. Oh well, didn't want to snap in for me. So yeah, a lot of good reasons to pick these knives up. At least have one in your collection. Here's a little sportsman's knife in a penknife format. These were little ladies' knives, and so a woman would have carried this. Really cool timestamp there. Phoenix. Just amazing. This is a little tiny knife, so here's a fob knife. Look how much smaller it is than the fob knife. And then, of course, you can get them nowadays. This is a penknife that Case produced. That was a Volt knife last year. Not last year. 23. A bolt knife for 23. This is another Case pattern. This is an Eisenhower pattern, but beautiful stag on it. And these I collect because I'm just collecting Case patterns, not so much a pen knife per se. So these wonderful jackknives, we love to collect them. They're really cool, but there is definitely a place in your collection for a penknife. And as you can see, it spices up your collection. So if you had 29 jackknives on the table, chances are most of them would look like this, some variation of a brown color or a wood. And these penknives also just spice up your collection, add color to it, add interest. People looking at them will pick a knife up like this and go, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. And it's pretty cool. So I hope you found it interesting, maybe learned something, and I hope to see y'all on the live show Sunday. And I really, really, really appreciate all of your support for the channel. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next video.